gathering. So basically, to form the information base to construct an answer based on artificial intelligence is designed in the Western world by companies that want to grab everything. So they want all your emails, they want all the music in the world, all the images in the world, all the websites in the world, all the books in the world, all the translations in the world. They want all of this and all the videos, radio, television in the history of the world. They want all of that in an electronic format as the foundation upon which they feed you back selected information based on queries. So you ask them, can you make a video of Hyde Park on a Sunday with someone like Heiko Khoo speaking, with a similar voice and intonation, arguing similar arguments and engaging with members of the audience. And if you've got a bit of money, you can pay to make a video based on artificial intelligence that will entirely produce what they've asked for. Almost it could be myself, or it could be Albert Einstein standing here speaking, talking about the theory of relativity, based on all of his ideas and everything everyone's written about Albert Einstein, and responding to questions asked by members of the audience who could be set at, let's say, a university level in physics, or could be set at school children level, or the level of the police. And you can make a video like that now with artificial intelligence. You can make a song in Taylor Swift style, as Piers intends to do. And my mother asked last week, she goes, she's nearly 90, she said, who is Taylor Swift? She says to me. I said, you don't want to know. You don't want to know. I said, you don't want to know. You don't want to know. And then I saw her a couple of days ago and she said, you asked the same question, but she knows more now. I played a couple of songs from the Swift to her. And she said, Taylor Swift, I thought it was a man. I said, and then I saw someone wearing a bikini, a shiny bikini. And again, that's a sideline. The point being, artificial intelligence designed around the accumulation of all the data in the world as the foundation for spewing out revised versions, packaged together in particular formats, new types of formats which you might imagine, like I was just discussing. Could be holographic of Albert Einstein speaking at Speaker's Corner. When Piers and myself die, you can come to Speaker's Corner and see the hologram of us speaking about new themes, that type of thing. You know, like you go to the ABBA experience, as you do, and you can go and watch ABBA in a hologram, you can dance around it, you can relive the old times as if they're going on today. And Annika, whatever her name is, looks young, like she did back in 1970 Waterloo. So that's the idea behind artificial intelligence today. The problem they've got is this. Within 2 years, the data gathering by all the major corporations, Meta, Elon Musk, ChatGPT and so on, will have gathered all this information together on their databases. They'll have all the television programs, all the radio programs, all the pornography, all the images, all the newspapers, all the databases of news, information, research and so on throughout the whole of human history. They'll have all of that. And then what they'll be producing will be replications of interpretations by artificial intelligence of all that data. And so it won't be human-made material, it will be artificial intelligence-produced material based on all the existing knowledge up until 2026. And then it will stop. So in theory, rather than having the growth of some general intellect, as they like to imagine, universal general intelligence, as they like to imagine, which will be the foundation for future knowledge, what you're actually going to have is like year zero. It's almost like Pol Pot in Cambodia, where they said, this is year zero. Everything starts from now. And everything starts from now on the basis of what we have in this country at that time. And in a way, this is what they're suggesting we will have in a couple of years' time. A halt to the gathering of new human-made information that is not adulterated and manipulated by the intervention of artificial intelligence. So that's where we're heading, according to them. Now, they all go on about how... I saw a YouTube video this morning, or yesterday, sorry, and it was about North Korea. And they were saying the secret life in North Korea. And then people wander around in North Korea, these tourists, and they had some filmmaker making this show. 5.4 million views of this, and it was describing North Korea as this terrible totalitarian dictatorship. And then once about halfway through the show, they showed this one camera, and they said, and surveillance videos, watch the people. Surveillance videos in North Korea. Yeah, you'll have 1 or 2 surveillance cameras in North Korea. How many surveillance cameras do you pass on the way to Speaker's Corner? How many? They are ubiquitous. Yeah. Not like China, or not like North Korea, which is far less. Britain has far more cameras watching over you than almost any place on earth. And now they're talking, you know, when they talked about this ULEZ thing, we've got the cameras coming in for ULEZ, you know, these ones with the double camera that looks down at you on almost every street corner in London now. These are facial recognition cameras, one. Second, the minister in charge of transport, he turned around and said, oh, we now have to discuss how to introduce pay per mile. So when you want to drive in future, every time you leave your house, it'll be monitored how far you go, and you'll pay for every distance you cover with your car. And they'll have a camera to watch everywhere where you've gone, and they'll have a computer inside your car determining where you've gone. So that's the end of the end of the freedom of the car. When the car was invented, it was a mechanism by which human beings could liberate themselves from the transport limitations they had until then, and travel wherever they like, where the wind blew, where they fancied. Now it is a mechanism for ubiquitous universal surveillance. I went down Wandsworth Bridge Road the other day. Or I tried to go down Wandsworth Bridge Road. Wandsworth Bridge Road used to be about as wide as this. The road used to be about as wide as from where the railing is there to the railing is here. So they were like 3 lanes. You had 2 for the cars and 1 you could overtake. Now they've reduced it to just about twice the width of these lines here. Wow. Probably a bit less than that. And then they put, in the last month, they put big planters in the middle of this, so that at certain points the road is not wide enough for 2 cars to pass. You have to wait for 1 to pass, and then the other pass. This is going to a major artery road in Britain, in London. It was blocked at night time at 9 o'clock at night. 9 o'clock at night. You couldn't go down Wandsworth Bridge Road because they put planters on the road. And the maximum speed on this road, as in nearly all of London now, is 20 miles an hour. Now, if you've got a car that's got a manual gears, what you discover is when you go for your driving test, or when I went for my driving test back in the day, you drive your car, and once you're driving along, the cruising speed which you were supposed to stay at was around 25 to 30 miles an hour. If you went over that, the driving instructor would not complain, as long as you don't go too far over it. Now, you drive 20 miles an hour, slower than a bicycle. Slower than a bicycle. You drive in 2nd gear, because if you go into 3rd, your car will easily surpass 20 miles an hour. And I stood in the election in Putney, and one of the idiots turned around and said, there's a road that goes down Roehampton Lane, and it still allows 30 miles. It's a 3-lane road, 4-lane road, sorry. 4-lane road going down, used to go down to Hammersmith Bridge and down towards Putney. You could go to Putney that way as well. and there's a 30-mile-an-hour speed limit. And they said, what can we do to stop the 30-mile-an-hour speed limit in Roehampton Lane? And all of them said, oh, it's terrible, 30 miles an hour, 30 miles an hour, 30 miles an hour. And then I stood up and said, I think it's excuse my French, I think it's an utter joke that 30 mile an hour is the speed limit. I said, do they have many babies running across Roehampton Lane? 30 miles. The whole of society is being infantilized by this nonsense. Yeah. Everyone is like a little baby. You must behave yourself. I had to go. I got a ticket. I got a ticket coming out of Brent Cross, off that major road. 40 miles an hour it said as I came towards the top. Then just before the top it said 30 miles an hour. Then when I got around the corner, 15 meters further, it said 20 miles an hour. And that's a 3-lane road. 3-lane each way. And I turned around, it was pouring with rain, and it said 20, and then flash, I got caught by the camera, driving at the incredible speed of 28 miles an hour in a 20 mile an hour zone. And then they sent me a ticket, £90 fine, or you go on a training course. A training course. And you can avoid getting points on your license. So I went on the training course, a 2-hour course, telling you how to drive at 20 miles an hour. How to drive. And there were like 10 people sitting looking at this thing, trying to fall asleep. And then the person said, now if I show you this picture, what's the hazard? And there's a little baby in the corner playing with a football. What's the hazard? Can you mark down on your paper what the hazard is? 10 grown adults. So I've got a doctorate, yeah? 10 grown adults sitting there filling out this thing. Child in the corner. And then they go, can you show me the picture of what you've done? You show them the picture. Well done, Heiko, that's me. Well done, Julie. Well done, so-and-so. Infantilizing the people. That's what they're doing. Infantilizing the people. At the same time as they impose ubiquitous surveillance on behalf of artificial intelligence algorithms to control the world. And when Elon Musk rolls out his robot, and you have the robot pouring a pint of beer. They have the robot serving some food. Yes. And then Elon Musk said, well, there's about a 80% chance that they will be used for good. 80% chance. 1 in every 5 times they'll be used for bad. Don't tell me. If you have an artificial intelligence robot that's running around on your behalf, and then it confronts the police robot that's running around to arrest you, don't tell me that your robot won't be disabled automatically and that the police robot will beat you up. Not only will the police robot beat you up, the police robot will beat up the police. So, and they will beat up, and they'll be there. That's what, this is the dream of Bibi, you know. That's why he's going, look, we killed the head of Hamas with a drone. And look, the drone went in just as he was dying. And then we blew him up some more while he was dying. Who's the message to? It's not just a message to the Hamas. It's not a message to the Lebanese. It's a message to the entire planet. And then while they're doing this, these barbarities, they weren't happy with Gaza. Now they're turning around in northern Gaza. They have the new plan. The new plan is to starve the people to death. And then anyone who's not a combatant should leave. Leave to where? Leave to another blown up zone where everything's been destroyed. And now they move into Lebanon. 1 million people displaced there as well. And these goons, like our friend over here, and Danny Shine's brother, running around and frothing at the mouth about how wonderful, about how he's got a right to be in Israel, about how, why doesn't he go there then if he's so obsessed by Israel? I can't remember the figure exactly, I think it's 900,000 of the Israelis living in Israel today, the Jewish Israel, are from Russia. They're from Russia. They came from Russia in the last 20 years. They went and populated Israel, and they were given privileged status over and above the indigenous population. And then he's got the cheek to turn around and say, oh yeah, but the people who are born there can do this. The people, and we have, on one side he says born there, on the other side he's got a right to be there because of some scripture 3,500 years ago, of which, by the way, not a word of which he believes. Not a word of which he believes, but he says he's got the right because of some scripture. Then he turned around and said, I've got a right because 1,000 years my people have been there. I said, what are your people? And then he closes off, I'm not discussing with you. So he picks an argument with someone he can pick on, who's arguing about some tangential discussion rather than the essence of the question. Our friend over here, I said, how many Jewish babies, if you put, you know, they used to do this in the old days, you know, put you on a scale, you know, the head of the Ishmaelis, he sits on a scale once a year against gold. A week before he sits on the scale, he eats about 500 chickens to put on weight, so he gets a bit more gold. People used to say, put you on the scale and weigh you. How many Israeli babies, Jewish Israeli babies, against Palestinians? And I said there's about, officially there's one Israeli baby was killed on October the 7th. One. None were put in ovens. None were beheaded. Although they seem to think, you talk to the people on their demonstrations and they all talk about beheaded babies and people put in ovens. So you see the story gets repeated in the mass, never retracted by CNN or by the, you know, by the mainstream pundits. I don't think Joe Biden even retracted it after repeating it. And this week the Americans said, we are sending troops to Israel to support the Israelis. Troops from the Americans. So we can clearly see what's going on here. Bibi himself, a stooge of the Americans, who's run rogue. He's an Al Capone working on behalf of the Americans. But of course, an Al Capone can shoot some Americans as well. So the idea that Bibi is going to be a reliable ally in the Middle East is a complete farce. They're dragging America into a maelstrom of disaster. And if they go and fight against Iran, America will lose. They lost in Vietnam. They lost in Afghanistan. They lost in Iraq. Where's the idea come from that they're going to win? And they're going to lose in Ukraine as well. So why do they get this idea from that they're going to win in Israel? Israeli population, 1 million people have left already. There's 900,000 Russians who arrived only recently. There's many other hundreds of thousands who arrived in the last 20 years. You go on the streets of Tel Aviv and a lot of them speak with a Brooklyn accent and then they swear how Israeli they are and how it's their homeland. They got a Brooklyn accent, they got a home over there, they get paid money to drive out the Palestinians, to occupy their lands, to claim that they're the chosen people living in a free and democratic country because they can smoke dope in a cafe. They think they're so free and liberal. Well, we've seen where that ends up, you know. We've seen where that ends up, and good luck to them, because they're on the pathway to disaster. Leon Trotsky, you can like him or hate him, but he said, if they form a Jewish state in the so-called Holy Lands, it will become a prison camp for the Jews. Of course, it's a prison camp for the Palestinians, but it is now also a prison camp for the Jews.
Yes.
It's a prison camp for the Jews. What prospects of future do they have? Now they live in fear. Now they live in fear every day. And by the way, the Iranians and Hezbollah have been holding back from firing. Holding back from firing. If they actually fired, you see, yesterday, Bibi's house was attacked. It's only a mild attempt they've made so far. If there's a full-scale war, Israel will lose that war. Right. And to be honest with you, you know, in some ways, better for that to happen now. For the Israelis to be utterly defeated. You know, because they've been asking for it, what they've been doing. They've been asking for it. That's someone who's constantly running around Speaker's Corner, kicking people and punching people. Well, they're bound to get a smack in the face one day. by the bigger guy or by a gang of people who are weaker but who collectively can defeat them. And that's what Israel is sporting for. That's what they're sporting for. Unless the Israeli people themselves, by that I mean the Jewish Israelis, rise up against their rulers. Those who think that way, probably is only 10% now.